This is a small bedroom, but I want to show you how I quickly turned it into 4 different YouTube sets. First, I'm gonna get up and try not to break this table. Please don't break. God.
Because let's be honest, as solo creators, we don't usually have a lot of space. We definitely don't have a lot of time, but we still want some versatility, or at least I do.
Okay, so there are a few different concerns that I need to address in this video. 1, how do we maximize the floor space because it's a small room? 2, how do we manage echo? 3, how do we choose the actual set? Where do we put the camera and why? And 4, how do we deal with lighting so that we can quickly change between each set?
Okay, so with that said, let's talk about the footprint. Okay, so the main way that I deal with a small footprint or floor plan is that everything that is important is on rollers. So this table, for instance, can roll around. I also know that I'm gonna be using this particular key light. It's one of the few things that I'm gonna move around. So it too is on rollers. I also have important tripods. So I've got a couple that are at specific heights that are on rollers. So I can push these around very quickly and get them into place. And they're at different specific heights. So this table moves up and down. And sometimes I might want to sit at it. Sometimes I like to stand at it. So depending on if I'm sitting or standing, I have a tripod that's set up at the level that it needs to be at specifically for that particular scenario. But having things on rollers or everything that needs to be moved on rollers saves a ton of time because this doesn't have to stay in the middle of the room, right? I can move this over here and now I have all of this space in the room, in the middle of the room, that I could create a different set. Okay, when it comes to echo, that is a very real thing. So there's a few things that I've done in this room to specifically try to minimize the echo as much as possible. Thankfully, with today's editing software, noise control in general is really strong. We still want to minimize as much as we can while shooting so that we don't have to deal with all that in post. So what I did is, first of all, we've got laminates, kind of like hardwood floors in here. So I threw a little rug in here. Now, ideally the rug would be a little bit higher pile because that would control the echo better, but this works fine for me. I also installed these panels myself on the wall. These are actually not technically soundproofing or deadening panels. You can find a lot of that stuff online. But for me, I just went to the local wood shop and had them cut down a bunch of pieces of wood, and then I just brad nailed them to the wall and threw a little piece of felt behind it to kind of help dampen some of it. And I do think that it controls the echo on some level pretty well. I also threw these actual sound deadening panels over on this other wall. There's still some echo in the room, like the ceiling definitely has echo. These walls over here and this window have echoes. The window, I did put these lines right here on purpose. They do a great job of canceling out some of that echo, but also they cancel out any of the light. So if I do want to control the light more for any of these particular scenes, which we'll kind of get to in a second, that helps a ton.
All right, now let's go through each set. I'll explain why I have that set up the way I do and how I have it set up so that I can move quickly between each one. Okay, so this is my set 1. As you can see on this one, I'm backed into a corner. I've got these lines right here that are kind of leading in towards me. Gives me a little bit of space, but I also have the window back here that allows me to kind of get a little bit more depth in the scene so I don't feel like I'm cramped up right against a wall, right? It just feels very kind of flat and like it lacks any sort of dimension. Then as far as the lighting goes, it's really basic. I've got my key light that you saw me move over here, and that's on the same side as the windows so that it feels kind of motivated. I like things to feel kind of natural. So since I'm using these windows to give me depth, I want this key light right here, and I need it to be bright enough to make it feel like all of that light is just kind of wrapping around me, and that is what's lighting me, not this. But then over in this corner, right over here, I have this fill light up in the corner, and that's gonna allow me to kind of get a little bit of fill. So you can see, so when I turn that off, it gets very dark on this side. Now, that's great for a lot of things, but for me, I've got 4 different sets that I'm gonna use, and one of them specifically is for my other channel, which is a hair channel. So I have that over there to kind of give me a little bit more brightness so it doesn't feel quite as dramatic. But one of the things that saves me a ton of time with the lights is that they're all Amaran, except for this one light right above me. That's actually an old Aperture 120D Mark II. So that is not controlled by the Amaran app. So all of my other lights are actually controlled by this app. And one thing I want to show you about these lights too is this is a very big window, right? And therefore it's letting in a lot of light. but I like to mimic that anyway. And so what I did for a light over here is I actually used this really, really big sheet of diffusion here that I just got on Amazon. I think it was like 30 bucks. And I connected it up to this big f22 light. So it's a really big source of light to begin with, which is already diffused. And then it's being put through this other layer of diffusion that's really massive. And that allows me to get a much, much larger overall light source that makes it feel just a lot softer and kind of mimics these windows a little bit better. That is one of my favorite things. It really makes everything quite soft. Okay, so now that we've got this space, let me show you scene 2, if you will. We'll flip this around. I'll show you how fast we can get moved around. So this one actually took me exactly 2 minutes and 55 seconds to set up. And you can see that I'm still kind of fiddling with the lights a bit, so I really could have done this much faster. Okay, now we have another set, right? And this one, I'm kind of doing the same thing. I'm pushed into a corner, so I'm shooting into the corner. But the thing that I've done here, and you'll notice this theme kind of all these sets, is every corner I have a light. So I've got a light right here. I've got a light right back here. I have a light over in this corner. And then I have this major key light that I can move around. And the reason for that is because it allows me to have a rim light, a fill light, and a key light, no matter how I turn the desk. So I don't have to set too much of that up. The key light is the only thing that I actually have to move typically, and I'll move that when I need to. But then you'll see when I turn this around, I could use this for a key light if I wanted to. I still have a tendency to use this because it's much bigger, and like I said before, I like that really soft source, but I could use this as well if I want to. So it just gives me options and makes things a lot faster. And then now let's move to another one. So I'll show you how this happens. This one was actually a little bit quicker. It ended up only taking me 1 minute and 24 seconds to set up. Here we go, and that's another set. One thing I will say, these little aperture bulbs drive me absolutely nuts, constantly unconnected from Bluetooth. So yeah, the amount of times that I have to reset the Bluetooth on this thing and reconnect it to this, every single time I use it, I feel like. And there's 3 of them, so that's fun. But, so here's a whole nother scene, right? With a lot of depth in the background. I like this one because there is so much depth. Like I'm actually pushed against the other corner, so I have a lot of room to move, but it also makes it feel like the room's a lot bigger. This is probably one of my favorites. I also like that I can go in and play with the different hues. Maybe I want something a little bit different in the background, right? Now all of a sudden we've got kind of a different feel. So there's 3, but let's show you an entirely different one. Show you how quick we can move into this. Now this one actually took me 3 minutes and 27 seconds, but it's the first time I've ever set this particular setup. Okay, and now we have a completely different background. I've got leading lines on this side again to kind of bring the eye over this way. I've got this as my rim light, but I also have this now that was a rim light before as a key light. And then it allows me to have this over here, my old key light, if I want a little bit of light on this side. And if I don't want that light on this side, if I want it to be a little bit more moody for some reason or whatever, right, I can just kind of take this off, turn this up a little bit, right? And now I've got a little bit less of this light filling in on this corner. Now, I know another major frustration of having any more than one camera can be figuring out the audio, specifically figuring out audio for different cameras. If your cameras all have 3.5mm jack, you're golden, right? But if you want to use something like an XLR, then all of a sudden now the cameras either have to be different or you have to figure something else out. And so for me, I did a couple of different things to kind of work with XLRs that actually made everything very convenient. So now I can use this mic for any of my cameras. And it does require syncing in post, but it's very easy to do. And now this is wireless. So all I've done here is taken my Rode NTG3 and plugged it into a little power source that actually provides 48 or 12 volt power to XLR mics. Then I just have a XLR to 3.5mm jack cord that plugs it into my DJI Mic 2 transmitter. Then I just simply taped on a little piece of metal so that I could use the magnet from the DJI transmitter to easily connect it to the power supply. Who is it? Who is it? The price is wrong, bitch. And now this is 32-bit float. I'm actually thinking about putting together like an entire video on just different ways to get wireless connection to mics and get different mics to connect to different cameras. If that's something that you'd want to see, I'd love to know. Throw it in the comment and let me know. But otherwise, my biggest question is, which of these is your favorite? Or do you have a favorite of these sets? And mainly I want to know for my own personal benefit, because if you like one of them, then I'm going to stick and use mainly that one.
Probably not. Yeah. So I hope that helped a little bit. But yeah, let me know which is your favorite set. And also, if you have any other questions, definitely comment below. Let me know what the questions are because I need to figure out what I can help you with. So do that. Otherwise, if you like this, you'll probably like this. So go check that out and I'll see you over there. Bye. I'm such a big fan of this. I love this mic so much.